Joining me now is Congresswoman Elise Stefanik. She represents New York's 21st Congressional District, and she's the House Republican Conference Chair as well. Congresswoman, great to have you back with us.
Good to be with you, Vince.
So what kind of record does Kamala own if she's 100% aligned with Joe Biden?
Well, this is what we've been saying all along, is she owns Joe Biden's record, lock, stock, and barrel. Let's start with the border crisis. She is Joe Biden's open border czar, and we've seen the catastrophe that is no matter what state or community you go to across the country. When it comes to the historic inflation, Bidenflation, it's a result of Kamala Harris's deciding vote for the Inflation Expansion Act. So as the American people are seeing, as Kamala finally does these, what I consider really softball media interviews, she owns this, and it's going to be a continuation of the failed policies, but worse if she's elected for the next 4 years. So the American people are waking up, and there is a reason why her campaign has tried to hide her from doing these interviews, because she's the candidate the more you hear from, the less support she has from voters.
Yeah, let me talk about the immigration side of things for a moment. She just did this interview with 60 Minutes, and Bill Whitaker raised appropriately that illegals have been pouring into our country at record rates under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Here's what that sounded like.
There was an historic flood of undocumented immigrants coming across the border the first 3 years of your administration. As a matter of fact, arrivals quadrupled from the last year of President Trump. Was it a mistake to loosen the immigration policies as much as you did?
It's a long-standing problem, and solutions are at hand. And from day one, literally, we have been offering solutions.
What I was asking was it a mistake to kind of allow that flood to happen in the first place?
I think the policies that we have been proposing are about fixing a problem, not promoting a problem.
Yeah, so she just keeps rambling. But even Bill Whitaker can figure out here, Congresswoman, that things definitely change under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Well, he's exactly right, and you heard a non-answer, as is typical from Kamala Harris. They don't want any accountability, and this happened on their watch. On day one, Joe Biden issued 94 executive actions opening the border and wiping away President Trump's effective border security policy. And Bill Whitaker talked about the 4 times increase in illegal crossings. In my district, I represent the Swanton sector. There have been more illegal crossings in 2024 than the last 17 years combined, a 50 times increase in illegal crossings. So this is a catastrophe. I was just meeting with communities and constituents in my district who the first week of school, they were trying to put their kids on the school bus, and there were illegals crossing the northern border who were surrounding the school bus. You have illegals, including individuals on the terrorist watch list. And the fact that that's all Kamala Harris has to say, we need policy solutions, and those solutions are Trump policies. Build the wall, end catch and release, support Border Patrol, and restore Remain in Mexico.
We're talking to Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, and as you've gathered here, of course, she's a New York Congresswoman. We're talking about what she just said, the northern border. Congresswoman, how dire is the crisis on the northern part of the country? So much of the attention has been focused on the south.
It is dire. Again, we have never seen anything like this. And I raised the alarm about this at the very beginning in the first few months of Joe Biden's administration with Kamala Harris, where we had Border Patrol officers that were transferred over and over again to the southern border. Now it's so bad on the northern border. At that point, we didn't have the resources we need, that Border Patrol from the southern border has been transferred to the northern border because we've seen this 50 times increase of illegals. This is something communities in upstate New York have never seen before. And certainly at every opportunity, Kamala Harris has not supported our Border Patrol officers, which is why the Border Patrol union is supporting and has endorsed President Trump, as well as Republicans up and down the ballot across the country.
Elon Musk has been saying that this election may very well be the last one if the left gets its way because of all this effort to bring in illegal foreign nationals and to ultimately turn them into voters for Democrats permanently. What are the stakes in this election, in your view, given what we already know about the Biden-Harris administration and what's happening to this country?
The stakes, we say every 2 years that this is the most important election in our lifetime. But I'll tell you, this one really is. People know it in their guts. They know our Constitution, the American dream, who we are as a country. is all on the line this election cycle. And Democrats have shown and proven that they will shred the rule of law. They will shred the Constitution. They will open our borders in a way to fundamentally change America into a country that is not based upon our founding principles and values. So this is why it's so important. Every vote is going to matter in every state and in every congressional district. I think about your listeners in Northern Virginia. We need to flip those key House seats in Virginia, supporting candidates like Derek Anderson, who has tremendous military service and is running to flip that district, and I think he will. I was in Virginia earlier this month doing a rally. There were thousands of women that came in support of President Trump, and we saw that it's possible when Virginia elected Glenn Youngkin. So every vote's going to matter this election cycle. I just want to encourage everyone, vote early in person, or in mail, absentee, legal votes. We need your legal votes cast. We need them cast to make sure that we win this election.
Yeah, for sure. And we've been out there each week with early voting in Virginia. Congresswoman, I don't know, from your perspective, you probably have a better understanding of this than I do, but it seems like the enthusiasm among Republican voters for engaging in the process and getting Trump and all these other candidates across the finish line, it's as high as I've ever seen.
I agree. We are winning the enthusiasm, but that means we need to win the turnout. This is all about turnout, and we know that Democrats and the media try to suppress Republican enthusiasm. That's why they're putting out these polls, which are not reflective. Remember, President Trump always overperforms the polls, as do Republicans. And we need to make sure that everyone turns out. But I think the enthusiasm is high no matter where I go, whether it's in Virginia, upstate New York, or I'm actually in another part of the country today. I'm at an airport. If there's any background noise, I'll be in North Carolina later this week, Pennsylvania next week. So we're crisscrossing. It's all hands on deck.
Those are essential states. All right, finally, obviously the presidential election, we talk about top of the ticket. You're also talking about these House races that are so important. I know right now we've heard plans from Democrats, including Maryland's Jamie Raskin. They're saying that if Trump wins this election, they want to stop him from becoming president on January 6th of this year. They claim that they want to raise 14th Amendment objections to him becoming president. They say he's an insurrectionist. We can't allow him to become president. Jamie Raskin has said out loud they intend to stop him on January 6th. How important is it for Republicans to win that majority again in the House in order to make sure something like that doesn't happen?
It is super important, and Democrats will impeach him on day one. And it's interesting that you bring that up, Vince, because every Republican, whether you're a national leader or running for House, has been asked about January 6th and election integrity. You know who hasn't been asked? Democrats. And Democrats have high too. Remember, they challenged every Republican president since the 1980s. Democrat members of Congress challenged them on January 6th. And yet it's only Republicans that get attacked by a biased, broken mainstream media. It is important for us to stand up for election integrity, but what have Democrats tried to do? They have tried to attack the will of the American people, going back to 2016 with Russia hoax and all that nonsense to really hinder the American people's choice for president, which was President Trump then, and it's going to be President Trump this November.
A big deal. Really big deal. A lot going on. Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, thank you for taking some time out for us today. Good to talk to you.